So how do you fight a war where the weapons aren't, bombs and bullets, but,
The noise.
yeah, noise and forgetting?
Right.
Today we're doing a deep dive into Chapter 6 of Nanocapacti, the Talker's Story,
Right. Huh?
the Observatory of Unfolding Hearts. And it's really this incredible survival manual, but it's totally disguised as a story.
It really is. It completely inverts what we expect from the whole survival genre.
Yeah.
Because usually, survival is architectural.
Right, like building a bunker.
Exactly. You build a wall, you lock the door, you keep the wasteland out.
Yeah.
But the text we're looking at today, it argues that physical barriers are ultimately useless if your internal identity has already been, well, hollowed out.
Okay.
It's this deep exploration of how shared memory actually functions as a shield.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We need to set the scene for the listener real quick.
Good idea.
It's November 2148. And we have these two girls. There's Ivy, who has green hair, and Iris, which is spelled I-R-E-S, but pronounced I-R-E-S, and she has magenta hair.
Right.
And they are currently hiding in this abandoned observatory. And the sensory details the author uses here to just kind of drop us into this space they're incredibly specific.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, it says it smells like stars and moth wings.
Which is such a vivid image.
Right, and there's no power, there's no light. All you can hear are their heartbeats and the sound of this old metal creaking around them.
Which immediately creates this really fascinating sense of scale, I think.
How do you mean?
Well, think about what an observatory is. It's fundamentally designed to look outward at the macro, right? The cosmos, the vastness of the universe.
Yeah, right.
But right now, it is completely dead and dark. So the narrative focus is drawn entirely inward to the micro.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You've got the smell of dust, a single heartbeat, the juxtaposition of this space meant for cosmic discovery being used for just microscopic internal survival. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting for the themes we're about to get into.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're completely cut off from the outside world. And in this rusted, dark space, Ivy is lying on a mattress while Iris is just kind of tracing shapes into the dust.
Right.
And out of nowhere, Ivy just says, "I'm not who I was."
Yeah.
And Iris immediately, like without any hesitation, she just says, "I don't want who you were."
Oh, that exchange. It serves as the psychological bedrock for everything else they do in this chapter.
Yeah.
It's this direct rejection of the concept that undergoing profound change or, trauma leaves you as damaged goods.
Right. She's not mourning her.
Exactly. Iris isn't mourning the past version of Ivy at all.
And then Ivy follows that up by asking Iris if she still wants a forever with her.
Yeah.
And Iris responds physically, right?
Yeah.
She curls into her, the text says, like Ivy around a fence post, and asks her not to disappear again.
Right.
But Ivy pushes back on that word. She says, "I didn't disappear. I unfolded in the wrong direction."
Yeah.
I really want to stop and look at that phrasing because it feels super intentional.
What's fascinating here is the mechanics of that specific metaphor.
Right.
She doesn't claim she broke.
Yeah.
She doesn't say her identity was shattered or destroyed by whatever it is they're hiding from outside.
Right. I kind of look at it like a piece of origami.
Okay.
If you're halfway through folding a paper crane, right, and you make a wrong crease,
Sure.
the paper isn't suddenly ruined. It's not shredded into tiny pieces. It just has a crease where it shouldn't. It unfolded in the wrong direction.
That's a really good way to put it.
And so to fix it, you don't throw the paper in the trash. You just have to smooth it out, acknowledge that the crease is, it's permanently there now, but you fold it differently to find a new shape.
Right. The material still holds the memory of the mistake, but it can still become something whole.
Exactly.
But the thing is, smoothing out that crease takes a level of objectivity that Ivy just doesn't currently possess.
Because she's too close to it.
Right. She's too close to her own trauma to actually see her own shape. And that leads us to this whole concept of outsourcing your identity.
Oh, yeah.
Which the text illustrates so beautifully with Ivy's dream, the one about the hallway of water.
Yes, okay. So Ivy wakes up and tells Iris about this dream. She dreams that Iris is walking down this hallway made entirely of water.
Right.
And with every step Iris takes, a word just appears under her foot, holding her up.
Yeah.
And the words are real enough and begin.
So think about the physics of that dream for a second. Walking on water implies navigating just pure instability.
Because water is chaotic.
Exactly. Water is chaotic. It doesn't hold a shape. That represents the dystopian world they're living in. But Ayers finds solid footing through these very, very specific affirmations.
Right.
And when Ayers asks what the dream actually means, Ivy explains that Ayers is the one who remembers who she is, even when Ivy herself forgets.
Which brings up a really interesting dynamic for anyone listening to this deep dive, because I think we've all had moments where we feel completely burnt out, right?
Oh,
You
absolutely.
get overwhelmed by your job or the news cycle or just life in general to the point where you kind of lose sight of your own values. You forget your own shape, to use the origami metaphor.
Yeah.
And in this story, Ayers is basically acting as Ivy's psychological anchor. When Ivy forgets the blueprint of who she is, Ayers is holding the instructions.
Exactly. It's this radical act of trust to be able to say, I am completely untethered right now. Please hold my identity until I am strong enough to hold it myself.
Yeah, it takes so much vulnerability.
It really does.
Huh.
And the text grounds this lofty concept in a very quiet, sort of melancholic detail right after Ivy confesses this dream.
Oh, the tea.
Yes, Iris is holding a cup of tea. It's gone completely cold, but she smiles into it and drinks it anyway.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
It's not some grand sweeping romantic gesture at all.
No, it's highly practical. The tea is cold, the situation is grim, Ivy is mentally struggling, but Ayers is just swallowing it all anyway. She's accepting the cold reality because maintaining that connection is vastly more important than her own comfort in that moment.
Wow. Yeah. So once they have this internal baseline, right?
Right.
Once Ayers has firmly anchored Ivy's internal identity, they suddenly have the safety they need to start looking outward again.
Right.
They transition from merely surviving to actively building a totally new shared reality.
Which is such a crucial pivot. You really cannot build a shared space if your internal foundation is actively crumbling.
Right. The walls would just fall down.
Exactly. Because they've secured their internal identities with each other, they can finally start constructing their external environment.
And they do this using this old analog projector they find in the observatory.
Yeah.
It's all covered in dust. And the author describes it as a dream half slept.
I love that line.
It's so good. So Ivy turns it on, but there's no film loaded into it. It just projects this blank, whirring glow onto the wall.
Yep.
And they sit in what the text calls this nothing light. And sitting in this totally blank slate of light, Ivy declares that she wants them to live somewhere without walls or rules or labels or scripts.
Right.
She wants a totally blank canvas.
And Ayers responds to that by saying, I want a room without a ceiling.
Right.
So they can float out or let the sky float in.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Okay, go for it.
Because there is a massive paradox going on here. They are physically hiding in a very tight, enclosed, rusted, dark, dusty observatory.
Yes, they are.
They are quite literally trapped in a metal box. Yet mentally, while sitting in the light of an empty projector, they're declaring that they are building a reality with zero boundaries.
Right.
Ayers even says they'll build this room using their names, their kisses, a piece of chalk. And she says, every time you looked back at me when you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Isn't this just a massive delusion? Like a coping mechanism to ignore the metal box they're trapped in?
Mm-hmm.
How does building a space out of intangible feelings actually protect them from a literal war outside?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is not a delusion at all. It is a fundamental redefinition of what constitutes a place.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So the dystopian world outside relies on physical architecture, right?
Like walls and borders.
Yes, checkpoints, fences to control people. If Ivy and Ayers accept that definition of space, then yes, they are trapped. So they reject it entirely.
Oh, I see.
They decide that a place is no longer a set of physical coordinates on a map. A place is the relational space between the two of them.
So the sanctuary isn't the observatory itself. The sanctuary is the connection.
Precisely. By defining their space through their choices, like looking back at each other when they don't have to, they are constructing a sanctuary that the outside world cannot infiltrate.
Because the outside world operates on concrete, not connection.
Exactly. You can't bomb a connection.
Man, that actually reframes the entire rain dance sequence for me.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Because shortly after this projector moment, it starts raining. And rather than hiding inside the metal box, they actually go out into the rain.
Yeah.
They take their shoes off.
Yeah.
They face upward. There's no music playing or anything. They just move to the rhythm of their own breath. Ivy spins, and Ayers follows her. And the author makes this really specific note. They say, they didn't talk. Talking was too slow.
That physical synchronicity right there is the practical application of their room without a ceiling.
Right.
Think about what language actually is. Language is a construct. It
Mhm.
is a set of rules and scripts that are handed down by society.
And usually it's the very society they are actively trying to escape.
Exactly. The regime dictating their dystopia controls the language. So, by moving together in perfect rhythm without any music and without any words, they are proving to themselves that they have outpaced the need for conventional scripts.
Wow.
They're communicating on a frequency that the broken world outside can neither intercept nor regulate.
Right. Talking was too slow because their connection is just operating purely on instinct now.
Yeah.
And I think it's deeply human impulse that follows this moment. When you experience something that transcendent, like that unspoken synchronicity in the rain, you immediately feel the need to document it.
Oh, yeah. You want proof.
You have to leave a record that it was real. So they move from this abstract, wordless feeling in the rain to actually writing a literal manifesto of their existence right on the wall of the observatory.
It's such a fascinating progression when you lay it out like that. First, you anchor the self.
Right.
Then you envision the shared space. Next, you embody it physically in the rain. And finally, you just declare it into existence.
And here's where it gets really interesting to me. They make this list on the wall using that piece of chalk. And it's titled Things We Are.
Yeah.
I'll read the exact list because the tension between the words is just palpable.
Go for it.
The list is not fixed, not broken, not afraid, and then in parentheses, today, real, messy, burning, soft, still here.
Look at the heavy juxtaposition of those concepts. It really tells us everything about their state of mind in that moment.
I really want to zero in on one specific line, which is not afraid, today. The fact that they included that parenthetical today is so incredibly important.
Yeah, why does that stand out to you?
Well, because when we talk about finding love or connection in a dark world, whether in fiction or real life, it so often veers into this kind of toxic positivity fairy tale.
Right, the idea that love conquers all instantly.
Exactly. The idea that finding your person suddenly cures all your anxiety and makes you permanently fearless against the dystopia. But this list is incredibly grounded and just messy.
It's a highly realistic survival mechanism. They aren't pretending the threat outside has miraculously vanished.
Right. They're openly acknowledging that the fear is real and they might be absolutely terrified again tomorrow morning when they wake up, but they're making a conscious, active choice to be brave for just today.
Yeah.
It kind of shrinks the overwhelming nature of survival down to a manageable 24-hour window.
And that pragmatic survival mechanism, it ties directly into the juxtaposition of the words burning and soft later in the list.
Oh yeah, those two right next to each other.
Right, because how can a person be a raging fire and completely gentle at the exact same time?
Right.
It's because their resistance against the outside world is the fire. They were burning with defiance against the dystopia. But their dynamic with each other remains entirely soft.
Yeah.
They refuse to let the harshness of the environment harden their edges toward one another.
Which culminates in the final item on the list, which is just still here.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate victory in a world that is actively trying to erase you is simply continuing to exist.
Exactly.
And at the very bottom of the list, Ivy writes this final sort of thesis statement. She writes, together, always,
Yeah.
even when apart.
Which is the ultimate test of the room without a ceiling, isn't it?
Right. Can it hold up?
Can the connection survive physical separation? And the narrative forces us to confront this question almost immediately. It pulls us out of this intimate little cocoon they've built and reminds us of the macro environment.
Yeah.
Because the author writes, there was still a whir outside. Velvet. Noise. Forgetting.
Velvet. Noise. Forgetting. When we read dystopian fiction, or honestly just watch the news for that matter, war is almost always depicted as sharp and loud, right?
Right. Explosions.
Yeah. Shrapnel, sirens, fire, screaming. But a velvet war, that is so specific.
It raises an important question about the specific nature of the conflict in their world. And frankly, it asks questions about ours, too.
How so?
A velvet war implies something that smothers you softly. It muffles you. It might even be comfortable, but it is deeply, deeply suffocating.
Wow. Yeah, if the weapons aren't bombs, but noise and forgetting, that completely changes the battlefield. It sounds like a war of attrition on your attention,
Yes.
like an assault on your individual history.
It is an algorithmic erasure of the self. The regime, or whatever the societal force at play is, they don't need to physically destroy you if they can overwhelm you with so much meaningless noise that you just voluntarily forget who you are.
So to bring us back to the listener for a second, a velvet war of noise and forgetting isn't just a sci-fi trope. It sounds exactly like doom scrolling.
Oh, 100%.
It sounds like modern digital echo chambers. We live in an environment that is designed to bombard us with a 247 chaotic news cycle and endless streams of content until our attention spans just fracture.
Yeah.
It's a very comfortable, velvet-lined way to lose your sense of self and forget what actually matters to you.
Precisely. The noise is explicitly designed to untether you. Which means if the war is about forced forgetting, then what Ivy and Ayers are doing inside that dark observatory takes on a totally different meaning.
It's not just a romance.
No, it isn't just a
It's
romance.
a tactical insurgency.
Yes.
The text literally says, but in that room without a ceiling, two girls remembered each other so hard the world couldn't touch them. Intimacy isn't just a comfort to them, it is their actual armor.
Remembering each other is a profound act of political resistance in this context. If the enemy's primary objective is to make you forget, then holding on to a memory is the equivalent of pulling the pin on a grenade.
Right. They're fighting the Velvet War by simply looking back at each other when they don't have to. It makes a whole earlier sequence just click right into place. The hallway of Water Dream wasn't just Ivy being sweet or poetic. Ayers acting as Ivy's memory was a direct countermeasure against a world-ending weapon.
Yes. The words real, enough, and begin, they are the literal antidotes to velvet, noise, and forgetting.
That's
And
incredible.
this intense, sort of insular memory building is exactly what prepares them for the future. You have to secure the base before you face the elements outside.
Right.
And this brings us to the really unique structural choice the author makes at the end of the chapter, because the narrative doesn't just follow a straight line from here.
But the journal entry format kind of stops, and the narrative splinters into these possibilities. The author actually steps in and lays out two potential diverging paths for what Chapter 7 could be.
Yeah.
Path 1 is called the Soft Rebellion. And in this timeline, Ivy and Ayers take all the strength they've cultivated into the observatory and they start looking outward. They quietly reach out to others and they start building a resistance network, not through violence, but through beauty, truth, and sending these glitching messages through the noise.
It's the outward scaling of their internal work. They built the room without a ceiling just for themselves, and now they are pushing the walls out to let other people inside.
Yeah.
It shows that healing isn't just an individual pursuit. It has real communal utility.
But then we get Path 2.
Right.
And Path 2 is titled Ivy's Disappearance Again. And in this version, the Velvet War breaches their sanctuary, and whatever force is out there manages to pull Ivy away once more. We don't really know how or why,
Yeah.
but the critical difference, which the text heavily emphasizes, is that this time Ayers doesn't break.
Because the foundation has been poured and the concrete has finally set. Even if Ivy is physically ripped away from her again, Ayers still has the list on the wall.
She has the muscle memory of the rain dance.
Yes. The external physical structure of their lives might be completely compromised, but that internal room without a ceiling is entirely impenetrable now.
It goes right back to that final chalk line Ivy wrote. Together. Always. Even when apart.
Yeah.
Path 2 is basically the ultimate stress test of that hypothesis. The text suggests that because they took the time to build their shared reality out of things, the regime couldn't touch, right? Memory, trust, choosing each other. Because of that, Ayers survives the separation intact. She holds the memory for both of them now.
And this is where the author makes their boldest move in the whole piece, I think.
Yeah.
They don't actually resolve it. They break the fourth wall entirely. They present Path 1 and Path 2, but then they just add, or something completely different.
Right.
And then they turn the lens directly on the reader and ask, what are you feeling for next?
So what does this all mean for us? Like, why ask the reader what they're feeling for next?
By breaking the fourth wall, the author is essentially handing the chalk to the audience. Right. They've spent the entire chapter detailing the exact mechanics of how to build a room without a ceiling in the middle of a Velvet War. And now they're inviting you to become an active participant. They're asking how you plan to apply this blueprint.
Because we are all navigating our own Velvet Wars. We're all dealing with the noise and the cultural pressure to fit into pre-designed scripts, the pressure to fold ourselves into shapes that just don't fit, and the feeling of becoming totally untethered when we, unfold in the wrong direction.
The overarching lesson of the text is that while we certainly have agency over our identity, that agency is incredibly fragile if it exists in a vacuum.
Right.
It is sustained and reinforced through our intentional connections with other people. We just cannot exist in a boundless room completely alone.
Yeah, we all need our own anchors. We need those people who will hold our memory when we forget ourselves because the noise got too loud. We need to find our own nothing light, turn off the endless influx of information for a minute and write our own messy manifesto on the wall, even if it's just committing to being not afraid for one single day.
It's a profound exercise in self-reflection. The story posits that who we fundamentally are is inextricably tied to who holds our memory when we lose our shape.
Yeah.
So look closely at your own life. If you were forced to build your own room without a ceiling, out of the people, the choices, and the quiet moments that anchor you against the deafening noise of this world, what words would appear under your feet when you take a step forward?